Good afternoon, or GM, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Bitcoin Builders. This week we're joined with Chris and Fred from the Pizza Ninjas team, and we're going to be talking about gaming on Bitcoin. Pizza Ninjas, as you may be aware, if you're not, we're going to be talking about their already successful launch and now continued building on heading towards season 2 of the Pizza Pets game. So thanks again everybody for joining. This is Brian. I'm also joined by Nick from our team at Arch. Nick is our CMO. Nick, how are you doing today?
Doing great and super excited to talk to pizza. Got a lot of friends in the pizza community. Shout out to Chris, real homie. And just super excited to learn more. What they've done has been some of the most innovative stuff in the Ordinals space. And it's also one of my favorite collections. I think that the art itself is really fun and engaging. So super excited to learn more about gaming, about IP, and a lot of the other stuff that pizza is doing.
Yeah, likewise. I'm excited to get caught up on everything to do with Pizza Pets, and obviously, I think we'll just start back with Pizza Ninjas to do like the full circle and dive into everything. On Bitcoin Builders, we like to talk with projects who are innovating on Bitcoin. We've often had ordinals as part of the conversation. We think that it's very multifaceted ecosystem when it comes to the assets and things that obviously. And, recently we had Bitcoin Art Society on. It's interesting what they're doing in terms of Ordinals collection, but ultimately Ordinals in and of itself is innovation, and to see some of the things that have happened since early 2023. And obviously Pizza Ninjas has been around since the early days. Launch was exciting. So I just want to kind of hear from you guys. Take us back a little bit to the beginning of, like the thought process, like why building on Bitcoin? What's the whole concept behind Pizza Ninjas, and what you're guys doing from a team perspective?
Yeah, well, GM, thanks for having us. Is Fred on the stage? Because it shows me he's a listener.
It shows speaker as for me. I
Okay,
think
cool.
I can hear you, Fred. Did you unmute there?
I just wanted to say I'm on stage, Chris. You're not alone in this.
Yeah, Spaces does that weird thing where you can never tell who's on, but it sounds like you're both loud and clear from my end.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I guess I'll bring it from the beginning and then kind of pass the baton on to Fred, as that's, kind of how it actually went, anyways. Yeah, Pizza Pets was one of the largest airdrops on Bitcoin. I don't even remember the amount, but like we teamed up with so many communities with being able to airdrop like 60,000 pets. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. We had like four of the best collab managers in the space. We had Blessed. He's not really in the space as much anymore. We had Knox. We had Poseidon. We had Cook, and then we even had non collab managers like myself, like reaching out to people, basically trying to do this very direct airdrop towards like communities that supported us in the past or communities that were early on building on like ordinals and runes and BRC20s. It was a very like strategic airdrop, one of the most that I've been a part of, like hand selected, I guess, but in a good way. We didn't just like throw a bunch of supply out to like random projects. Like it was very coordinated. And then of course all the projects that like, reach out to us for it. And even like outside of the Bitcoin ecosystem, there was quite a few people that this was their first ever interaction on Bitcoin. And that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about Pizza Pets as well is like my Bitcoin native friends are like, oh, so this is what like block times are. This is like how this works. I've never seen the mempool before. This is how the mempool looks. And I'll be honest, like that's probably the most I've checked the mempool and blocks like ever. Even somebody who's a little bit more Bitcoin native than say like people that haven't interacted. Obviously, not as much as some other like OGs in the space, but I've never spent multiple hours a day looking at Bitcoin blocks and timing them based on time. And I know that got a lot of people too in the early days of like thinking that it was as clear cut as like, 2 days is how long, the pet will be on this substance when it's really boils down to block time, which can vary, which can move it from minutes to hours. That got a lot of people's pets killed. But yeah, so I mean, it went from a massive airdrop to a large participation. I think I have the numbers pulled up here. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know, but I mean, almost a million times fed, which is crazy. Obviously, some of those are multiple being fed in one transaction, but I mean, I would say easily over like 500,000 Bitcoin transactions of people, that directly supports miners, that directly supports Bitcoin security while people like play a game and participate. And honestly, there was more participation than I even expected because at first I was like, well, it depends on Bitcoin. It depends on like prices of the mempool and how much transactions cost or whatever. But the fact that nearly 12,000 people made it to Immortals is crazy to me. Like that was higher. I thought it was going to be 5 digits, but it ended up or 4 digits. Ended up being 5 digits. And yeah, so we kind of are at the point where we're at now, where there's like about 12,000 immortals alive, and the whole first section of the game obviously was to get your pet from egg to immortal, and if you did that, then you won. And for now, and then it or you could have bought on secondary, and of course, like it being on Bitcoin's like super cool because at any point during the way you could have like if you decided that you couldn't do it anymore, you could just sell it, instead of playing the full game through. Now we're going to season two, and there's a lot of different angles that are going into that. And I guess I could go ahead and pass it on. I don't know if there's any more information there. We've already released.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can come back to like the update on season two and stuff. I wanted to dig into a little bit of what you were, talking about there, specifically with like the some of the innovations that have happened. Because ultimately, like, when you say like Bitcoin DeFi as like a even a zoomed out topic, like what does that even mean? It can mean a lot of different things. So I think that even applying that to like NFTs on chain, ordinals on chain, what can they do? Like there's been some like really interesting new, we'll say like capabilities and definitely use cases when it comes to ordinals and some of the things that projects are doing with them. So getting all the way to like the gaming application, like can you guys give us a little bit more of the kind of like the backstory of like how we got to having, it's considered a fully on-chain game on Bitcoin, and what does that mean? Maybe Fred, you can jump in on that topic a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about this. So I want to give kind of the big picture why, and then I can have Chris again talk a bit about the game specifics. But just in general, well, maybe first I'll say hi. So I'm Fred.
Yeah, Fred, welcome, Fred.
Thank you, Brian. Well, Fred, it's good to be on stage with you. I'm growth and innovation lead with the team, and I just basically onboarded about 2 months ago. I see some folks in the crowd that I've seen in either Lisbon or actually in São Paulo. Gizani, shout out to you. Shout out to Simon, Joan Smith, Troll Farmer, Shin, all the beautiful ninjas and others in the audience. Stoked to be here. So yeah, I mean the big thing with our dear blockchain, our dear most favorite blockchain, Bitcoin, is that we're not gonna have world domination and have a complete and total sovereign money in Bitcoin if we're just going to keep hodling forever, guys. I hate to break it to you. I know some in the audience are going to have different opinions here, but we're not going to have a complete money, that fulfills all the functions if we're just sitting on our Bitcoin all the time. We need the Ordinals apps. We need the DeFi apps. We need innovation in this so that we can all spend our sats together. Okay. This is just something that I'm going to posit here to start with as kind of the big problem and why we should all be very fortunate as Bitcoin builders and people in the ecosystem that we can contribute to something so important in our lifetime, right? To give in money to 8 billion people. And the way that we're doing this, Chris already alluded to it, right? I mean, it's basically Trojan horsing Bitcoin onto every phone, onto everyone who's using apps, through games, through things like we did with Pizza Pets. When I was playing Pizza Pets, and we're going to talk about, what that game was and what's planned, but I remember I was traveling, I was in Thailand. I woke up sweating. I was drenched in sweat because I was scared my pet was gonna die. I thought I have to feed that thing with some drugs or some ketamine before it'll die on me, and then I will lose my precious, at the time it was, I don't know, 0.01 Bitcoin for an immortal. So I think it's a very, very important task to make it as engaging as possible for people to get educated on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a philosophy. Bitcoin is a life philosophy that's all encompassing, and we need to create these educational moments through games, and we need to make it fun, and that's what we're here for as pizza ninjas, right? And so we started about 1.5 years ago. Chris, you probably can correct me on the exact time, but we are 1,500 strong, inscribed in a parent-child inscription way on the Bitcoin blockchain, and we love, we're quirky, we love retro gaming. We have our collectibles, of which there's gonna be a new season coming out soon, but we also have, other media. Animation is big. We really wanna empower pretty soon our holders to make their own animations using their beautiful ninjas, and, yeah, of course, the games, which we're gonna talk about today. So that's kind of the big picture thing that I wanted to share.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. And it's interesting, like it fits into obviously the sector of IP, and specifically like the gaming is very interesting to be making such a bet on not just like doing something that's next to crypto or uses crypto, but gets super ingrained into like the nativeness of like even following the blocks as part of the gameplay, which is interesting. And but even more interesting than that, I think, and interesting to more people is the dynamic nature of like the assets themselves, and how they are truly these like tangible game tokens that are like they have traits to them, and it really kind of like opens the door to even more imagination, which I think specifically, the team is like building in that area and like moving forward with season two in that area. But I think it's also interesting to think about that these things are possible with other IPs as well, and other, ordinals. And I think Bitcoin meme coins is a really interesting topic that you can get into as well. So yeah, very obviously, a very interesting way to apply all of the innovation that's possible.
100%, man. And these things are nothing more, nothing less than programmable culture, right? The reason we're called pizza ninjas is from that famous 2010 transaction, where some dude paid, I think it was 10,000 BTC for two Papa Johns or something. And obviously, that's part of the lore now. And we have to make sure that as a community together, whether it's a Bitcoin meme coin community or an NFT community, that we cross this chasm from, 10,000 diehards or a couple tens of thousands of holders all the way to the billions, right? And the way we can do that is by having culture that is fun and that just spreads in a way that is never seen before. And what you were referencing, Brian, obviously every Pizza Ninja right now that is already out, it's an application in and of itself. And because we're, so dorky and excited about games in general, we've, for instance, inscribed as Nintendo, Super Nintendo emulator that you can play right now on Magic Eden on each Pizza Ninja. So each NFT is also an app, which is what makes Ordinals so special as a protocol. You can't do this on other chains, right? In this format. So that's just one example of how gaming is integrated, and there's many, many more firsts that we try to bring to the space.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on one on that note is like why ordinals made sense for this as well. When there was the airdrop initially, the 60,000 to all the addresses, that game was airdropped essentially to your wallet, right? like you could interact with the pet. It would move, it could evolve, it could have an animation, you could save it. You could do all that through the ordinal itself. And that's something that, to my knowledge, really isn't possible or wasn't possible on most other chains. Is it's usually it requires immediately a direct interaction with like another site, right? Like there's the the joking like animate.
Right, where what you have on chain is just like your representation of ownership. But yeah, keep going. Like
But you also
Sorry.
can't really, there's not really layers in it. I do think that,
Exactly.
like, there's different ways to do this, and I have done it, like, where you could maybe play, like, a short game through, like, the marketplace interface. Like, I remember OpenSea a while back had, like, some NFTs that were like that, but playing the game directly through and interacting with the Ordinal directly through the Ordinal itself, is something that was, like, really new to the Ordinal, to, like, the whole space. Because again, you're getting airdropped an application more so than just a token, in my opinion. So because of recursive and how much that allows us to do. Now, again, I'm the marketing guy. I'm not a dev, so like I'm sure like the devs in the audience are probably like, oh, he's wrong about this little aspect. Or
Well, just I mean, you're getting to a really good question, I think, and that the token in and of itself is it has this living and dynamic nature where I guess literally is just a record of everything that's happened to it in the history of that, pet, right? Because it's all the innovation like is literally using like the part of the ordinals protocol that inscribes all of the record of like the gameplay, right? So I think what's interesting is how projected forward, like how does that look in terms of like how it can affect the gameplay going forward? You know what I mean? As far as like traits or capabilities. And these are some of the things that are coming in season two, right? As far as like expanding on that, your characters identity or capabilities or history or things like that, right?
yeah, exactly. Fred, there was I don't know, we're probably too early in the conversation to do this, but wasn't there a leak that you're going to talk about last week on our live that you pushed back to last week? And I'm putting you on the spot here.
I
Me get some
I can just leak it right meow if you want me to.
Is it relevant to this current conversation? I don't.
It's-
Okay, that's the reason I brought it up. I thought it was, even though you didn't tell me. But
Well, dude, I know you're like 3 steps ahead always. I love that about you. But so what you want to do is you want to see which aspects of the culture and the IP are sticking with the people, and then you want to build the game on top of that, right? Like use more of that in the game. We like to refer to pizza pets as the first gaming protocol on Bitcoin because we want it to be player driven as much as can be. So that means you will have the chance to build your own battle maps and where you bring your immortals in, right? To battle it out. So the first step was to get to the immortals, and we're going to probably loop back to that in a second, how we got to the immortal type of pizza pet. And the second step is, well, next, what kind of iteration comes next? So we went from a Tamagotchi style game where you had to inscribe food onto your pet for it to survive into an immortal. And then after that comes a strategy game, right? Which is more turn based. It goes a little faster than the entire, couple of months that Pizza Pet Season 1 went, but the faster gameplay will be appreciated by many folks. So think of it much like a chess turn-based style game. And what we noticed was that in Season 1, people couldn't stop talking. I mean, people talked about a lot of stuff on Spaces related to Pizza Pets. They mostly talked about drugs because that's what you fed the pets with. But they also talked a lot about the poop, which was one of the kind of the byproducts of certain types of food. And it would just randomly also spawn onto your pets, and you'd have to clean it, right? And we love that some players really made it part of their brand to like report on the poop situation with the pizza pets. And this is
Yeah, there was the poop police, I think. I remember seeing things about the poop police.
That's right. So there are people, telling each other how to be, have stricter hygiene standards for their pets. How could they be responsible for dirty pets and filthy pets? And this is obviously then an aspect that was meanable within the community. And this will now shape a new character with the season two, which we've hinted at in the Git book, which is King Poop, right? And so in the game that we will bring out, King Poop will play a role. He'll spawn from the terrain, from the waters, from the toilets of the terrain, so to speak, and he'll have certain effects on the players. And this is something that we could only know that would work if people engage with it. And once we see people engage with certain parts of the IP, then okay, we can build on top of that.
Right, and it would be interesting to see some of the variety that can come, and, I mean, honestly, I don't know how much, we can get into, like, the details of, like, what will be possible, but I know there will be some dynamics to where you can, like, design your own maps and have your own, like, gameplay, so it will be interesting, like, essentially what you're, implying there is that we can go to this, like, new layer of building on the lore where maybe instead of, like, just posting on social media and yes, that will continue with, like, the gamified mechanics, it'll be like these maps or, like, mini games that come out along with that, which is an interesting concept, but so now, like, going forward, you'll have these 2 I guess not necessarily 2, but, like, this existing, like, supply chain of breeding pets and raising pets up to immortals, but now the whole battling, and designing of maps, right? So that's the whole ecosystem. Did I get everything there right?
Right. So season one is
And there's the
essentially
official and then, like, the community curated, right? Or community designed, right? When it comes to the maps.
right. Exactly. So let's be very clear. Season one essentially continues forever because for as long as Bitcoin exists, which everyone in this room will hopefully agree it's forever. But basically, we have managed to create the game in such way that you can today, buy a baby pizza pet and continue to level that one up so that you have more mortals. And the goal is to have 11, one of each type, right? And then you have a full breeding set and you can essentially take part in the breeder, well, DAO, if you want to call it that. So far, we haven't just seen a lot of cooperation on that front, but we expect there to be some as soon as season two is out, because season two effectively accrues more value, more use to the immortals, right? Which is what drives the incentive of breeding more. So that's the idea in a nutshell. And then what you said, Brian, at the end is correct. So obviously people can build their own game, but we want to obviously put out the first game as inspiration that is sort of built by the team so that okay, this is possible, and that we also drive people to play it. And then we want to encourage, different iterations.
Right, very cool. And so this development, is it members of the team? Has the team grown and like taken on this like gaming studio side, or is there like a strategic partnership that's going on? I know that in the past there was the partnership with was it Metapunks? I hope I'm not remembering that incorrectly.
Megapunks, yeah, they did the art.
Megapunks.
Yeah. So we're always collaborative if we can be. So that's the spirit behind the season two as well. I sort of came on as project lead for season two. The the team has expanded in the sense that we have hired Unity developers, right? People that are very skilled in Web3, but also with the Unity gaming engine. Specifically, it's the type of talent that has built, isometric maps and games before. It's a very specific type of game. If you Google that, you'll see what I mean. So yeah, it's essentially becoming a small studio whereby we really use a lean approach, kind of a lean startup approach, and see what works. Chris, if you find the video where I gave kind of a showcase, we can pin it up top for people to see what it looks like as of now. And yeah, also in terms of partners, we're working actively to identify some people in the space that can help us with on-chain integration. There are people that have offered some help and that we're exploring now. But yeah, there's enough talent sort of in our network and within the team to make a good make a good dent at it on the first try.
We also have like 4 full-time devs, but they're also spread, right? Like that's not their main task is Pizza Pets, but they've obviously helped like a significant amount with every season one, deploying season one, keeping up with everything and all the tech in the in between period. But as Fred said, like we've also expanded to other networks as well.
How does the community, like, design and participation in building out maps and that sort of thing extend to both versions? We actually haven't even touched on that yet, but there's I know there was at least some intention. Maybe it's not both being launched at the same time, or like what's the update on that? When it comes to, I know there were plans for both the on-chain on Bitcoin, game continuing launching in season 2, but also more of a Web2 app style version of the game itself.
Yeah, so the Web 2 version will likely come out first. I think it's very important to lower barriers of entry when you experiment and where you find out, okay, this works, this doesn't, and then you figure out, okay, what can go on chain and what shouldn't, perhaps. So that's currently where our head's at, but nothing that I say here is in any way, shape, or form finite, or it's just we're working as we go, and if things change and we find new knowledge, then we might pursue a different route.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, I think that honestly, I would almost imagine some sort of relationship between the two, even where if people are designing games that are doing well in the Web 2 sense, they kind of become this capable or maybe like eligible for being added to the on-chain dynamics where the on-chain, assets can, like play that version as well. But obviously this is all subject to like how all of those dynamics are rolled out. I mean, we don't really even know that, right? How things will work specifically when it comes to like playing the game. 'Cause, I mean, where can they play it? Is it gonna continue to live on, what is it, pizzapets.fun? Is that the website?
Yeah, so you'll definitely be able to access it from any device, that you might use to be on the web. So it'll be, there will be a version that you'll love to play with your computer. There'll be a version that you'll love to play with your phone.
Okay, cool. And do you have any type of timeline to share?
And I actually don't. I actually don't. We do work in sprints whereby, every 2 to 4 weeks we release some snippets. This was just that's whatever's pinned up top was just released about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so that's that's how we're taking it slowly, and we obviously don't want to announce anything that we can't commit to just yet. So yeah, there's a few, besides the devs, there's obviously also design elements that are involved. We Yeah, we just want to make sure we do it right.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's been cool to see the activity tick up again. I think that there's been a lot of excitement and waiting around the anticipation of season 2. So anything coming in the future, I think, is gonna be a lot of fun to watch roll it out and all of that. So But we do so we've got a bunch of people down in the audience. If you have questions about Pizza Pets or Pizza Ninjas that you want to ask Chris or Fred, we've got them a little bit longer here. We've been going a little over a half hour here for now. I've got, well, really the questions that I had to ask, I've asked. So if there's anything that you guys want to cover from here, then we can definitely do that. If not, if the audience wants to join the discussion with any questions you have, then you're welcome to click request and we can continue.
Brian, fun fact, I'm getting DMs from certain audience members saying that the two of us sound alike. Love to hear it.
Really, that's funny. Because Fred, I can't believe it. I always think that, you don't have much of an accent, but you can detect just a little bit of an accent, and you definitely speak more languages than my just English. That's for sure.
You guys sound nothing alike. I don't know why that guy lied to you.
Oh well, maybe that person in the audience was abusing some of the feed of the pizza pets for themselves.
It's just that they can detect that we both have, a good beard, good beard growth, and it comes through in our voice also.
Correct. Yeah, I think the higher the beard growth, the lower also the. No, I'm not gonna say it. I can't. This is a pro.
That's funny. Simon, we've got Simon here joining us. Do you have a question? Go ahead and unmute. And I like the ninja colors. Must be having a little bit of connection issue. Why don't you drop down and then?
Hello.
Oh, I hear you now. There you are.
Good, good. What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Doing good. Well, yeah, yeah.
Good, good. Listen, I just had one quick question that I want to ask. A lot of the things that I've been seeing that y'all have been releasing about the Pizza Pets seem to infer that in order for people to really interact with the new stuff that's dropping in season two, they're going to have a full set of pets. I just wanted to kind of ask, what is the team planning to do for people that, might not necessarily have a full set, or is season 2 really being built for those collectors? And, the whole idea is it just like, through breeding, it'll make it easier for people to get their full sets. So, you're kind of just putting the resources into making sure that it's as good as possible for the people that are really committed to the ecosystem. Or, yeah, I kind of just wanted to hear kind of the ideology behind what y'all are building behind that.
That's a fantastic question, and I'm gonna have Chris speak on it as well after me. But I think I want to be very clear in saying that you don't need to have a full set of pets, a full set of immortals in order to play, right? So we definitely are not going to make it this difficult. I think when it comes to capturing a lot of the value of a successful season two, you will want to have a full set, right? Because then you're part of the cool club that gets to breed, right? That gets to dictate supply of these, and so that's something that has to be said very clearly, right? So we don't want to put any barriers like that up for people to play. However, if you want to capture most of the value, we do recommend, getting your sets in order. That's basically where I'm at with this. Chris, you want to add something to it?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I would say like there's benefits to having a full set. Like outside of the game itself, like there's like even the expansion, the set. Don't quote me on this. I always think about spaces. I always think about like this little section that you might say that's whatever. From my memory, I believe that the breeder sets have a second phase whitelist of our expansion, which you don't get access to outside of holding it. Like obviously the ninjas were prioritized, and then the next priority would have been the breeders. Again, don't quote me. I would go back and look at Trevor's announcement tweet on that. But we've also done giveaways for full breeders, and like you have this like special role in Discord. On top of that, like at the end of the day, Pizza Pets is a game that's meant to be played forever because it's on Bitcoin. And the only way for it to like go on forever on Bitcoin is for people to breed and expand. So I think there's always going to be elements of like obviously like, well, if a new player does want the benefits to being able to play that season of the game for whatever the Immortals offer, they're gonna have to. And I also don't want to come out this. I don't want to come at this from a price angle, but like they're gonna have to buy that from somebody, in order to play it. Well, who are they gonna buy it from? The breeders that are breeding and creating the supply for the pets. And there will be different dynamics for that in the future as well. Certain like breeding dynamics as well. So yeah, I mean, in short, no, you don't need a full breeder set. Will probably be helpful and advantageous. Yeah, but again, it's a pretty dynamic experience. So we'll see when we get there.
I think it is a really good question too, though, because it also sort of leads to maybe a related question of like, what is the benefit or the reward or like what happens when you battle and you win? Like why would people do it? Like, are they risking their assets? I think is another question there as well. But basically, it's asking like what can you do with just one? Like as far as like playing the game, obviously you can't breed because you don't have a full set, but what else, right?
Very, very fair question. And for us, we have to clearly say that there are things that we haven't figured out yet. I think the standard for us is always to build something that can be played forever. And so anything that we come up with has to fulfill that standard, right? And so, yeah, whether it's kind of wagering your assets, wagering sats, or any iteration of that, will come later. First, it'll be a turn-based game where we have to understand how our users, our community engages and plays it, which aspects they like, which aspects they don't like, so that we can, get rid of the stuff they don't like and multiply whatever is liked, and then put things on chain. I think that's the logical framework in my head.
Okay, so definitely when it comes to like an on-chain internal economy, that sort of thing is not necessarily fully fleshed out and is still evolving, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%. Because in essence, that's kind of like the holy grail thing that I
Yeah, that was my
want.
thought. My thought goes to like bullish Bitcoin pizza ninjas even and like how that might exist. But man, we're really getting down the road if we're talking about on-chain economies like that. But it's very I think exciting to say the least that to think that, it seems to fit, like the even the concept seems to fit when it comes to what would people want to have a game token that is dynamic and tangible and like I can transfer it from one wallet to another and I have ownership over it and then I can do these different things that are gamified experiences starting with this concept of breeding and battling. So certainly on to something to say the least, I think. But we've got Malia who
Of course,
us.
I do want to add.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I want to add to that that like, of course, there's a lot of directions that we're going to, like in a space setting state. Like, yeah, we're going to do this. I think would just set like even if we had something better down the line, I don't want to set a certain expectation before we actually start releasing everything. So there's a lot of things that like can't even be communicated externally yet, based on like that like more dynamic questions like that, if that makes sense. So it's kind of because if you say something like people are going to expect that thing, and there's still.
Oh, I think we lost you there, Chris. I don't know if you got a call or
Yeah,
something.
I got lost too.
But Melina, thanks for joining us here. Do you have a question or you want to jump in here on the topic?
I have a question. I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask the question everyone's scared to ask.
Do it.
You got this, Fred.
Uh, Guys, what are we doing to make this comeback for Pizza Pets? My God, I feel like it's been a minute. So, first of all, thank you for being here and joining us. But also, wow, I feel like I'm going back into my wallet and looking at my pets, and I'm like, oh my God, season two. So I don't know, like, tell us more about this season two and like, how are you going to bring back the hype behind the game? I mean, let's face it, there was such a big hype. Everyone wanted a pet over a year ago. What are we going to do to bring back that energy, guys? That's what I want to know.
That's a great question. I can start, Fred, and you can kind of get into some of
How
that.
are you?
I'm great. How are you? I know
We're
it's been so
busy.
long.
You
Yes, it's a super busy season. Yeah, so there's a few answers to this. First and foremost, we've as we're kind of getting further into season two, and there's going to be like steps that are released that are playable and interactive there, which is all like great for participation and marketing. Not even including like future incentives. I mean, just like this, obviously discussed this like internally, but I'll just share it on the space. I mean, we've been posting a little bit more and people like the same people that were there, 6 months ago. I mean, the engagement is up 371% on the Pizza Pets account. Just kind of after a few months of heads down building and kind of rolling out some things. So I think like the metrics in themselves, I mean, people are like hungry for it. Like I'm looking at everything's like super green, like likes are 821% up, replies 620%, reposts are 844%. But I think when it comes time to actually launch, it just goes back to whether the game is fun or not, like as in like whether people accept it as fun or not. I think like if there's any incentive there, like I did a Pizza Pets map building competition, which was kind of nitty gritty. Like it was like building maps in Figma for the like just for fun and people creating games. And I mean, we had like 50 plus entries. Like we had a ton of participation, lots of engagement, and that was a not even like I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. And that was for like again, not like a playable game. That was for like creating maps in Figma. So I'm not actually too worried from the angle of getting users back. I think if we just create a game that's actually fun and people want to come back and play, then like that's enough. And I also think like if there is sort of any like kind of campaign or marketing incentives there, those are always possibilities. So yeah, I mean, there's a new game that drops on Abstract every week, and those new games like already have so many people go and play them, including myself. So like, do I think that a very established game that had a big user base that has a great pitch to anybody that wants to work with them, which is Pizza Pets, will have a problem? Like, I think we already have a head start, and like opposed to like somebody just getting started.
Yeah, and I'd say on top of that too, that we're sort of blessed to be in the Bitcoin ecosystem. I think ordinals holders are a special type of animal that you can hardly find, elsewhere. And I think that that works in our favor, fortunately, right? And you have a lot of people sticking around. We are a type of project that does a lot, shoots for the moon, shoots for being first on a lot of, angles, first to innovate, first to mainstream certain things. And it's the same that we're going to do with this. I think that when we come out with a playable version where it's just super easy for you to log on and have fun and share it, the last part where we focus on how you share it with your friends, that's gonna be where our team excels, and, that's how we're bringing back the hype.
appreciate that, guys. No, honestly, I've always been bullish of the pizza pets, the ninjas, the whole team. You guys know already. But yeah, I was just like, wow. It was like Arch interviewing pizza pets today. I'm like, take me back. But happy to hear you guys today, and I'm excited to see what you guys are doing and how we're gonna, bring Bitcoin back to the forefront. I know people have been saying I'm a bit of a sellout because I've been bullish on ETH, but you know what? Chris has been bullish on ETH too. Okay, I'm following his group chat. Okay, so it is what it is. Chris is laughing.
Calling me out. Yeah, for every time we're on live and like ETH is up a lot, friends
I'm
always
not.
Fred's always like, you can tell it's a good day for you because Chris is smiling more than me.
There's no nobility in tribalism. I will say it here, I'll say it again. No nobility in tribalism. Our odds of survival are increased if we just get to know everything, play with everything. But then, you come back home, you come back to Orange. That's where we're at.
Yeah, ultimately staying like zoomed out as far as what are the experiences and things that we can draw inspiration from, I think is the best way because honestly, like that's what's been going on for. I mean, you can go back since the last like 2+ years of ordinals and talk about it in that way, or go back as far as like more than a decade, as far as this transition from Bitcoin as peer-to-peer cash to gold to usable financial underlying infrastructure, and like the NFT boom of 2021 that kind of unlocked this whole like cultural phenomenon. But I think that ultimately, like what it's poised to do, and I mean, I was thinking about this a little bit earlier today, is that the whole like overlaying of all of those parts of existence of, like what we can do on the internet, I feel like has been coming for decades to this point. And now, as we get, like further into the future, beyond the level of an experiment to the point where the adoption is coming, like when you look at all of the different sectors of the marketplace, from entertainment to finance, everything that can use a blockchain ledger is now starting to. And the only difference that in my mind that I see is that we haven't gotten all the way to the level of everyone is doing all of those things in certain categories. It's only the early adopters that are participating in all of the sectors of blockchain. But you do still see like whoever has a Venmo app knows or has at least seen the tab for crypto, right? So the experiences that can come to anyone who has a cell phone is kind of the paradigm that we all need to get to instead of anyone that has a wallet, because we're talking about like minimal layers of abstraction that are being solved for ultimately, as far as like what's the jump to get a user onboarded to where they have Bitcoin based assets that they're interacting with on their account, be that account a wallet or email based or whatever it is. Those are some things that I think as we get further and further down the road are going to become less and less part of the conversation, because people will want to talk more about the experience of what they can do rather than like where it is exactly that the back end is kind of like housing that experience.
People forget, man, back when we started this, it was still a career risk on Wall Street to, suggest investing company funds into Bitcoin. Now the culture has shifted where it's actually vogue and hip. And that same thing is going to happen, where nowadays perhaps traditional gaming houses and studios, they might, if one guy speaks up and says, hey, I want to integrate crypto in this game, they might get shunned. But there's going to be culture shifts, because orange culture has this tendency to just win over people, and, I think it's a very exciting time to be at the bleeding edge of this.
Fred, I was gonna add to what you're saying too. You guys were so early and also creating a game on Bitcoin. And I think like, after all these like conversations that I've had with either maxis or even people on other chains, right? We're just mentioning Ethereum, but like, people are always with the same, oh, Bitcoin's slow, Bitcoin's boring, Bitcoin's expensive, Bitcoin's this. You can't do this on Bitcoin. Like just in terms of like how far we've come with what you guys have been able to accomplish on the gaming side. And I'm even thinking, because I am helping and consult a game on another chain, but I hope you guys become, well, you are already, but I mean, like, really become that example of what can be possible, not only about being first, but what is possible on a chain where for years we've been told we couldn't do stuff, and it's interesting because you're talking about how far we've come. Like, I still have this notebook of what I was able to do even just like 5 years ago, like with Bitcoin, right? Like, just holding it. So, like, remember these little moments, or like I always like to tell people, like, put the date of like when we were doing things, because one day this is gonna seem so outdated, but in fact, like, we're literally just trying to build all these things out. But I just want to thank you guys for showing everyone out there, and even in terms of like businesses and people trying to build right now, not to lose hope, because you guys have been here for such a long time. And people can say what they want about how they felt about the first iteration of the game, and now there's like a second one coming. But for me anyway, it's just great to see people honing in on what they want to do, and building it here at home, which is what you were saying too, Fred, building on Bitcoin, which I think in itself is a feat. So congrats to you guys for doing it. And hopefully in the future we'll see other games want to come and maybe try to do it on Bitcoin too, right? So yeah, it's going to be fun.
It will be fun. And I did want to say too, towards getting the exposure out there. I mean, you remember I ran that campaign with people like yourself that were great content creators that I handpicked because they weren't like your typical KOL shills, and they did great work like you. And I'm still obviously a core part of the team, so there will be more of those to come. So I still, and a lot of those had a great experience. Like pretty much all the content creators I worked with like actually enjoyed the game and making content around the game. So I can only imagine that for future iterations they will. Also, completely side note, I guess it reminds me because you were at that party. But when we did our party in Vegas,
Yes.
which Pizza Pets did have like a whole section on for the animation. Andre Jick was there, and he's one of like the biggest finance YouTubers out there. And I got him to download an Xverse. I talked to him at the party, and I got him to download an Xverse wallet, and I bought an Immortal off the floor, and I sent it to him. So his first, I don't think he's gonna post about it because it wasn't even really like, hey man, send this to me, I'll post about it. It wasn't really like that. I just wanted him to have an ordinal, if that ever catches in the future. And he's like, oh, these are ordinals, whatever, which I did pitch him on ordinals overall. But I did, yeah. I bought for my own funds because again, it wasn't like supposed to be like a KOL shill or anything like that. An immortal, and I sent it to Under Jig, so that is his first ordinal ever.
There is his onboarding.
I love Andre. Yeah, I was gonna say, incredible. And that's really what it comes down to, right? And like finding a way, like even for instance, my husband was like a big Bitcoin guy. I was like, play the game, like have fun with it while we were doing content. Cause I really wanted, especially for the maxis out there, to see what is being possible and what is being done. And obviously it's not your like Mario gaming, type of thing, but it's just like this is what we've been able to do. And honestly, like I always say this, but we'll know about this in retrospect. Like in 5, 10 years from now, we're gonna be like, oh my God, like it's really what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we have a great team. I mean, we've had one of the longest lasting teams I know of that size. I mean, I've been with Pizza Ninjas before Pizza Ninjas or Pizza Ninjas. So I've been with Pizza Ninjas like for like 3 years, 3+ years easily. Myself and Ken, and then we've been expanding, and like specifically this year we've expanded our team more than ever. We have 3 regional directors now, which were all part of the community that just kind of rose up: troll farmers, special, and bonds. We got Fred on, who's obviously phenomenal and has his own success stories. Like I said, we do have 3 developers. 2 of those have been with us for a long time. I honestly, some of the even other guys that I mentioned are also developers that could help with stuff too. So they can almost do like cross roles. I mean, our team is like expanding, and it's a really solid team. Everybody's very good at what they do. So obviously we have more going on too with like the Pizza Ninja side. So balancing that, but that's when Fred comes in. Fred comes in and is basically forefronting the Pizza Pets. So yeah, I mean, I'm very confident in us for especially for an Ordinals project, and I still think I'm obviously biased, but like I still think Pizza Ninjas are like super underrated. Like I see we get support honestly from the biggest OGs and builders in the space, but I feel like a lot of the new waves they look at like they might see the 10K collections first just because like there's more. But yeah, I mean we've had a lot of cutting edge on a lot of this even from our original Pizza Ninjas, and I feel like we're on the ball. So I'm confident in us.
Yeah, every day some new cool shit happens. I think the other week I woke up and people had, illustrated us on some of his art, and I was like, holy smokes. And then I mean, I want to give an analogy to add on what you said earlier, Melina. So I appreciate you for, giving us some flowers here. But I do want to just set an example for other teams to join us in this, and specifically gaming on Bitcoin, because I do truly think, like, it is my conviction in, make it 2 years from now, we're going to be up on spaces with more than dozens, potentially hundreds of teams developing games on Bitcoin that have some sort of Bitcoin integration. And this is not impossible at all. It is, in fact, highly likely. If you think of the space back in the first NFT bull run that was on ETH, right? And then the one on Solana, there was no one talking culture on Bitcoin. I remember I was on Spaces trying to talk about Bitcoin. And people didn't care because there was no JPEG culture. There was no culture on Bitcoin. Now, look at us with our orange PFPs here, right? Look at us all interested in culture on Bitcoin. And I think that same effect, will just trickle down into gaming and other subsections like DeFi. We're just going to have really flourishing ecosystems. And yeah, that's just what I'm really manifesting and what I know will happen.
Yep, exciting stuff. And speaking from the perspective of Arch, we're obviously bullish on Bitcoin and what you can do on Bitcoin, building the infrastructure to make much of this possible, when it comes to building and deploying high performant apps for experiences in crypto, bringing all of that back to Bitcoin is what, we exist for. So all of the sectors of crypto, I think, are on the table. And even specifically getting into like gaming, we've had some, talks in public spaces. Matt's talked in a couple of times here and there about some things that are going on behind the scenes. I can't share like tons of details about what's being built, but we've been working with I'm pretty sure he's talked about publicly, like the Pups team on some like gaming fun things to do. And we're in conversations with some other, meme coin teams for some related things. And really just, the whole idea of like bringing culture back to Bitcoin. I think that, like meme coins and games on Bitcoin, they're both really like at the forefront of that conversation. And when it comes to Arch, the building is there, it's coming, and I think a lot of things are going to be happening in the future. And that's not just to say from our team, like even like getting into like the speculation about what's possible. I mean, you can do a lot of really cool things with Bitcoin based assets and create a lot of dynamic experiences that I think that would shock people and would surprise people. So, I mean, I'm here for the type of future that basically takes all of that experience and like things that you can do and connects them all the way down to like your wallet. Like I feel like that was the most dynamic step forward in the last couple of years or so was as soon as we got to this level of maturity in the Bitcoin space where the wallet experience was on par. And yeah, there's been a lot of things that have advanced beyond that, but the just the simple ability to connect and sign your ownership, showing that this is me, this is my, like public address. my Bitcoin wallet, and then being able to interact, directly with those assets. This is what you're going to be able to do when it comes to things that are deployed on Arch, and having that experience, I think that was really just pioneered by every team that has built in Ordinals is really what we're continuing with. And I think the future has endless possibilities, and games on Bitcoin, and doing, gamified experiences with Bitcoin based assets. I think talking about it in that way is a really more like enlightening and interesting way to think about it, because there's just something to that. Like a digital pet on Bitcoin is very different when you dig into all of the details and really like what that means at like a technical scale, and how that affects the user experience and everything that you can do for fun on that side of things. So I think I'll kind of throw it back to you guys, Chris and Fred, if you want to give us some final thoughts or wrap up however you want to, and we'll probably close it down after that.
Guess not everybody at once. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Brian, and the Arts Network team for having this platform and giving it us to us so graciously for the last hour. It was amazing to, answer some questions, check in with some friends, and just feel some of the alpha that we dripped. And that's that. Keep your eyes peeled. We have a community show every Tuesday that Chris is leading, that I'm joining most of the times. And there we, get connected with everyone, also answer questions and show some of the latest developments. So stay tuned to that if you're curious about this. If you don't have a Ninja just yet, there's a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline, and the um, yeah, generation 2 of the Pizza Ninjas is coming up. If you want to participate, the pre-sale has already happened, but there's going to be a sale happening that we're going to announce soon. And I think that's it from my side. Chris, over to you.
Yeah, we got a lot cooking up, man, and a lot of different angles, right? Like we have a lot of events that we're doing that are coming up. I think we got like Hong Kong this week, and specials going to be like for our leading that. We got our chapter leads, so like people that are basically leading all over the world for like their regions to like have like local meetups. Already had a successful one in New York City where we had like a rooftop bar and a bottle for the ninjas to enjoy over the New York City sky. Obviously the IP angle, like we have like actually I don't know off the top of my head, but millions and millions of gift views. Continue to expand that. Going to continue to expand to other socials for the IP side. We have two things that I'll keep vague on intentionally that are dropping soon that we have been building that are really cool. I think that our holders are going to really like them. I'm excited about them personally. And then, of course, we have everything that we talked about today with the Pizza Pet side. So lots of different angles all going on at the same time. But yeah, we're just kind of like heads down building. Excited to see the iterations of Pizza Pet season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5. It is a game that's meant to be played forever. So just keep that in mind. There will constantly, the pets will live on chain forever. So yeah, just excited to be a part of this, like through the Ordinals ups and downs, through the Bitcoin DeFi ups and downs, still building cool stuff, man, and having fun with it. And just thankful that I am in a space where we can worry about how a game on Bitcoin is going to look like.
Yeah, thanks again, guys, for joining us at Arch. We're excited for all of that same future, building toward it. It's going to be really exciting to see all of it come and to experience it all. So, thanks again, everybody, for coming. This is Bitcoin Builders, where we talk with projects and individuals who are innovating and building in the Bitcoin DeFi, and really just programmability and any Bitcoin projects and startups. So thanks for joining us. We'll be back again next Tuesday every week at 1 or 1:30 Eastern time. So look out for us next week, and make sure that you're following the main account that's hosting everybody on stage up here, as well as we did pin up a post from Pizza Pet's game If you want to follow along with the rollout of season 2 and all the innovation and cool things that are happening, make sure to follow along. So, thanks again, everybody, for coming, and we'll close it off here.
Peace out, guys.
They're not buying the real estate because they want to live in it.
But like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them core. We call them core. People that use fiat currency, call them core. Call them